The gift. No one wanted. The war was finally over. After years of fire, blood, and loss, the human army stood victorious. Alien weapons were silent now. Ships that once rained fire had fallen. And among the ruins of a broken alien capital, Captain Rian stood tall, dust on his face, tired eyes, but a calm heart. He had seen too much, lost too much, and now all he wanted was peace. Soldiers around him cheered, raised their flags, and called his name. Rian didn't smile. He looked at the sky where smoke covered the stars and wondered what came next. That's when the alien leaders arrived, tall, with blue skin and sharp silver eyes. They stepped forward with something strange between them. A girl. She was young, with dark green hair and soft purple skin. Her wrists were chained. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She didn't speak. Her eyes didn't look up. She stood still, like a statue, afraid to move. "This is our gift," one alien said. "She is yours now." Ryan's face tightened. "A gift? She is from the losing side, a slave, a reward for your bravery." Soldiers around him laughed, some clapped. "Lucky man," one said. "She's beautiful." Another whispered, "Alien or not, she'll keep you warm." But Rian said nothing. He looked at the girl. Her eyes were empty, like all hope had left her long ago. She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She had already accepted her fate. Rian felt anger rise inside him, not at her, but at the silence of it all. The way everyone around him acted like this was normal, like this was okay. He walked forward slowly and knelt in front of her. She didn't look up. He gently touched the chains on her wrists. She tensed, ready for pain. But instead, Rian reached into his bag and pulled out a small cutter. With a few sharp clicks, the chains fell to the ground. Gasps echoed around him. One soldier stepped forward. "What are you doing?" Rian stood. "She is not my property. She's a person." The alien leaders looked confused. "You do not accept our reward?" Rian's voice was calm but firm. "You lost a war. Don't lose your honor, too." The alien girl finally looked up. Her eyes met his, and for a brief second, something changed. Fear faded, just a little. Confusion took its place. No one had ever freed her before. No one had ever spoken like that. Rian turned to the others. "She stays with me, but not as a slave. She's free." That night in the human camp, things were quiet. Rian set up a small shelter. The alien girl sat in the corner, not speaking, still unsure. She watched him with careful eyes. He offered her food. She stared at it. Slowly, she took a bite. Her hands trembled. Rian didn't ask her name. He didn't speak unless he had to. He didn't touch her. He just gave her space. Some soldiers whispered about it. Others laughed behind his back. But Rian didn't care. He had seen what war did. He knew what pain looked like, and he wasn't going to add to it. Late that night, while the camp slept, the alien girl crept to the edge of the camp. She looked back once. Rian was asleep under the stars. She could run. She could disappear into the night. No one would stop her. But her legs didn't move. She sat down instead. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the way he looked at her. Not with hunger, not with power, but with quiet respect. Maybe it was the food, or the warm blanket, or the silence. Or maybe, deep inside, a small voice whispered, "This one is different." And for the first time in years, she closed her eyes without fear. The soldier who didn't want a reward, and the girl who was given like an object. Two broken souls, sitting under the same sky, and something was about to begin. She tries to escape. The stars above were cold and quiet. The human camp slept, and so did the guards, but not the girl. She hadn't slept since she was brought here. Not really. Her body rested, but her mind was always awake, always ready to run. She had been chained for too long. obeyed for two, trusted no one for far too long. She remembered the soldier's eyes, Captain Rian. They were soft, almost kind. But kindness in her world was often a trick. It came before pain. She had seen it before. Masters who smiled before punishment. Traitors who spoke gently but held knives behind their backs. So, she waited. Waited for him to show his true face, but he didn't. He gave her food, a blanket, and silence. That scared her more. So that night, she made her choice. She slipped out of the shelter without a sound. Her feet were bare. The cold ground bit her toes, but she didn't stop. She moved like a shadow, through tents and trees, past sleeping guards and dim campfires. Her breath was tight in her chest, her heart pounding like a war drum. Just a little farther, just past the rocks. Then the forest, then freedom. But as she reached the edge, a voice stopped her. "You forgot your boots." She froze. Rian stood behind her, holding the pair of old boots she had refused earlier. His voice was quiet, calm, not angry, just tired. She didn't move, stepped closer and placed the boots near her feet. Then he sat down on a rock and looked up at the stars. "I knew you'd try to leave," he said softly. She stayed silent, ready to run. He didn't reach for her, didn't try to stop her. "You're not a prisoner," he said. "I told you that." Still, she didn't believe him. "I don't want you to stay because I saved you. I want you to stay because you feel safe. But if you don't, I won't stop you." She looked at him confused. Why wasn't he angry? Why wasn't he grabbing her or shouting like others had done? He reached into his bag and pulled out some dried fruit. He placed it on the rock beside him. "You might need food if you're going to travel far," he said, almost like a joke, but not quite. She looked, down at her bare feet, then at the boots. Her legs shook. "Why?" she whispered, her voice raspy from silence. Rian looked at her, then shrugged. "Because I've seen enough people being hurt, I don't want to be one of them." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away quickly. She was trained not to cry. Crying showed weakness. Weakness invited pain. But this man, he didn't ask her to kneel, didn't touch her, didn't even ask for her name. She slowly picked up the boots, sat down near him. She didn't put them on yet, just held them in her lap. She was still ready to run, but her feet had stopped moving. Back in the camp, other soldiers started to notice. Whispers grew louder. Why is she still with him? Why hasn't he touched her? Maybe he's planning something. Rian didn't care. He only looked at the girl with quiet eyes. He didn't know her name, her past, or her pain. But he saw her, really saw her. And for the girl who was born in chains, feared by her own kind and used by strangers. That was something new. She didn't speak again that night, but she didn't leave either. And as the morning sun rose for the first time, she placed the boots on her feet. A small choice, but a powerful one. Her secret is revealed, Rian noticed. Something strange about the girl. She moved with grace even when she was tired. Her steps were silent like a hunter's. Her eyes scanned everything. She avoided loud noises, but she understood things quickly. Maps, machines, commands. She wasn't just a survivor. She was trained, smart, dangerous even. But she never spoke. Not until the night of the storm. Heavy rain pounded the shelter. The fire had died. Rian sat sharpening his knife, and the girl, wrapped in a blanket, stared at the flames. Then suddenly, in a voice so soft it almost disappeared, she said, "My name is Lira." Rian looked up. "I was not always a slave," she added, her voice shaking. "I was something else." She didn't look at him. She looked into the darkness outside, like she was watching ghosts. "My family ruled the Zirith sector. My mother led armies. My father wrote laws. And I was born to wear a crown." Rian blinked. "Your royalty?" She nodded once. "I was a princess, but I ran away when the war started. I didn't want to be a symbol, I wanted to fight. Her fists clenched. But they caught me. My own people said I was dead. The enemy used me to break my side's morale, and now I'm nothing. Rian stared at her. This girl who had slept in silence beside him for days, who ate quietly, who had been given as a prize, was a royal heir. A rebel, a warrior, and possibly the key to ending more bloodshed. "You're not nothing," he said. Lira looked at him with red, tired eyes. "You don't understand. If anyone finds out I'm alive, they will come for me. Both sides. Some will want me dead to keep power. Others will want to use me like a weapon." A long silence followed. Then Rian stood, crossed the shelter, and pulled out a folded cloak from his bag. It was thick, dark, and old. "You'll need to hide your face," he said. "From now on, you're not Lira. You're no one." She looked confused. "You believe me?" "I don't need to believe," he said. "I just need to protect you." She touched the cloak slowly. "Why?" Ryan's voice was quiet. "Because I didn't fight this war to protect kings or win prizes. I fought to save people, and you're one of them." Outside, lightning cracked the sky. Inside, a bond formed. Lira wasn't safe, not even close. But for the first time in months, someone knew who she really was, and chose to protect her anyway. And that simple truth would soon spark a storm greater than any army. The hunter comes. The rain had passed, but something colder moved in its place. Lira felt it first, a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Her instincts, sharpened by war, fear, and survival, told her danger was near. She stayed quiet, but her body grew tense. Her eyes searched the trees beyond the camp, even when no one else noticed anything wrong. Then the message arrived. A human, Scout, blood on his lips, crawled into camp at sunrise. His armor was torn, eyes wide with fear. "He's coming," the Scout gasped. "Something. Not human. Fast. Strong. I shot him twice. He didn't fall." Rian knelt beside him. "Who?" The Scout whispered one word before passing out. Tracker. Ryan's blood ran cold. He knew the name. Every soldier did. Trackers were elite bounty hunters, silent ghosts trained to find and capture the galaxy's most wanted targets. They didn't ask questions. They didn't stop. And they never failed. And now one was hunting Lira. Rian grabbed his rifle and turned to Lira. "We move. Now." She didn't ask why. She already knew. By nightfall, they had left the camp and entered the cliffs. It was dangerous terrain, sharp rocks, narrow paths, sudden drops. But it gave them one advantage: fewer ways to be followed. But it didn't matter, because the tracker was already close. Rian felt it in the stillness, in the way birds stopped, singing, in the crunch of broken branches behind them. Even when they tried to move silently, they camped in a small cave that night, hidden behind a curtain of vines. Lira sat near the fire, staring at her hands. "You should leave me," she said. "He's after me, not you." Rian didn't answer right away. He cleaned his weapon slowly, then looked up. "I don't leave people behind." "He'll kill you," she whispered. "Then I'll die standing," he said. Lira's throat tightened. No one had ever said that for her before. Outside, the tracker moved like a shadow. Black armor, glowing red eyes, a body shaped like death itself. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He followed scent, heat, sound, anything. He found the camp they had left. He found the place where Lira had stepped in wet soil, and he smiled. Tomorrow, he would catch her, and this time, there would be no escape. But Rian had other plans. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a survivor, and this time, the hunter would find that humans don't run. They fight. A bond. Beyond species, Lira woke before the sun rose. She sat by the edge of the cliff, watching the sky shift from black to soft gold. The wind brushed her face. It should have calmed her, but her heart was heavy. The tracker was close. She could feel it, like a storm pressing down on her chest. Behind her, Rian stirred awake, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He looked tired, worn, down, but unshaken. He sat beside her quietly. For a while, neither spoke. Then Lira broke the silence. "You know you're going to die if you stay with me." Rian didn't answer immediately. He just looked out at the clouds. "Maybe." She turned her head. "Then why?" He looked at her, right into her eyes. "Because you're not a thing to throw away. You're not a slave. You're not a symbol. You're a person. And someone has to remind you of that." Lira blinked, trying to hold back the feeling in her chest. "You don't even know me." "I don't need to." The words were simple, but they struck deep. Lira had grown up in rooms of marble and gold. She had worn crowns, trained with generals, spoken with kings. But no one had ever looked at her like this. Not as a tool, not as a prize, not even as royalty. Just as her. That night, the air grew colder again. Rian built a small fire in the cave, trying not to attract attention. Lira sat across from him, holding a sharp blade he'd given her. "You trust me with a weapon?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. Rian gave a half smile. "You've had a dozen chances to kill me already." She smiled too, just a little. As they sat together in silence, Lira finally asked the question she'd held back for days. "What do humans believe in?" Rian looked thoughtful. "Depends. Some believe in gods, some in science, some just in each other. And you?" He poked at the fire. "I used to believe in orders, in following what's right. But war breaks things inside you. These days I believe in moments, the little ones, like this one." Lira's voice was barely a whisper. "This moment?" He nodded. "Because you're still here, and you're free." The wind outside howled. Deep in the forest, the tracker moved closer. But in the cave, there was warmth, a human soldier and a hunted alien girl. No chains, no orders, just quiet understanding. A bond was forming, not of blood, not of duty, but of choice. The final stand. The silence before the attack was worse than the fight itself. The forest was still, not a single bird, not a single sound. Even the wind held its breath. Rian crouched low behind the rocks, eyes scanning the trail below. Beside him, Lira held her breath, her fingers tight around the blade he had given her. She had trained as a royal, but this was survival. The tracker had found them. They had barely escaped the last ambush. A trap in the mountain pass had slowed the hunter down, but not for long. Rian knew they were out of time. Running was no longer an option. Tonight, they would fight. He had spent the day setting traps, wires, spikes, smoke bombs, even a buried charge made from the remains of an old war drone. Every piece of tech he had salvaged was now part of a final plan, not to win, but to protect her. As the sun set and the first stars blinked into the sky, a shadow appeared at the edge of the ridge. Slow, steady steps, armor blacker than night, red eyes glowing like fire. The tracker was here. Lira gripped Rian's arm. "You can't win this alone." "I'm not alone," he said. "I have you." She stared at him, her voice trembling. "You should have left me." Rian shook his head. "No, they took everything from you. I won't let them take you too." Then he stood and walked out into the open. The tracker raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the ground beneath him exploded. Rian's trap. Smoke burst into the air, blinding the path. Sharp wires snapped, slicing into the hunter's armor. He staggered just for a second. That second was enough. Rian rushed in with a stun baton, striking with all his strength. The impact knocked the tracker off balance, but not down. The hunter twisted and grabbed Rian by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Lira screamed, but it was not fear anymore. It was fury. She leapt from the rocks and drove her blade into the tracker's side, right between the armor plates. The alien roared, releasing Rian as blood sprayed onto the dirt. The three of them fell into the fight, blades clashing, fists striking, breath ragged. Rian was hurt. His side was bleeding, but he kept moving. Lira fought like the warrior she had once trained to be, fast, fearless, silent. Together, they pushed the tracker back, inch by inch, toward the cliff's edge. The final strike came from Rian. A broken spear he had hidden in the ground. He yanked it free and drove it straight into the tracker's chest, sending the hunter stumbling. The ground cracked beneath the alien's feet. Then silence. And the tracker fell, down into the dark. Gone. Rian collapsed, coughing. Blood stained his shirt. Lira dropped beside him, her hands shaking. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please." He smiled faintly. "Told you. I don't run." She pressed her hands against his wound. "You're not dying. Not now." His eyes fluttered, but his hand found hers. In the end, it wasn't victory that mattered, it was that he had stayed. Fought. For her, and now. Everything would change. Freedom earned. The cave was quiet again, but this time the silence was different. It wasn't fear. It wasn't waiting for footsteps in the dark. It was peace. Rian lay on a bed of soft blankets, his wound bandaged, his breath slow but steady. Days had passed since the final fight. The tracker was gone. The danger was over. But Lira had not left his side once. She had cleaned his wounds, boiled herbs, and kept him warm when the nights were cold. She hadn't spoken much, but she had watched over him with eyes that once only knew fear, and now held something else, something stronger. When Rian finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was her, curled beside him, asleep, but holding his hand tightly in hers. He whispered, "Lira." Her eyes opened instantly. She sat up, face filled with shock and relief. "You're awake," she breathed. He smiled weakly. "You stayed." She nodded. "Always." Later that day, she helped him walk outside. The sun touched the mountains, lighting the valley below. It looked like a new world. And maybe it was. They didn't return to the army. Instead, they followed the rivers down into neutral lands where neither human nor alien banners flew. In a small village built by survivors of both species, they found something unexpected: kindness. People there didn't ask questions. They didn't see Lira as a threat or a prize. They saw her as a person, and Rian as the quiet man who walked with a limp but never stopped smiling. Lira stood in the village center days later, her old armor buried under the earth, her name no longer a secret. "I was once a princess," she said to the gathered crowd. "But today I am just Lira. I am free, not because someone gave me freedom, but because someone believed I was worth it." She turned to Rian. "I was given to him like a weapon, but he chose to see me as a life." The villagers clapped, and a few wept. That night, under the stars, Rian sat beside her as music played in the distance. "You don't have to stay," he told her quietly. "You're free now." She looked at him for a long time, then she smiled. "I know," she said, "but I choose you." And with that, the story of a soldier and a slave ended, not in chains or fire, but in freedom, healing, and something neither of them had expected: love.